Unemployment and underemployment has always been a problem that would face a country like Trinidad and Tobago, a country like ours where we have relatively good infrastructure, we have relatively good education, but the size of the country kind of means there are only so many jobs you could get in the island or on the twin islands. So employment in terms of being underemployed to our right now kind of highly educated, especially the millennial generation, that has always been a bit of a problem. And you could see that now when we're talking about the cruise ship jobs that have popped up, because recently it has been made known that there are a couple thousand jobs available for Trinidad and Tobago nationals on board of cruise ships, and we've seen the reaction to that opportunity. And to me, the reaction to that opportunity kind of signals that very same thing, where the problem in Trinidad and Tobago with the unemployment, and probably to me, when I look at this, possibly more the underemployment, might be why we see such a reaction to the opportunity being afforded to some nationals on the cruise ships. And I would say too, especially probably for the millennial generation, my generation, there may be much more of a global attitude when people think about what they want to do with their lives, because the world has become smaller. Many people in these generations, many of the younger people, they have grown up being much more influenced, much more able to see what is going on elsewhere, and obviously I think that would have an effect on how much they have a yearning to leave. So I think the younger generation has much more of that yearning to leave the islands and go have an exploration and adventure somewhere out there. So I think that, compounded on top of the underemployment and unemployment, is part of why we would see this happening here. But let's get into the actual stories where we point out how this played out. 2,000 jobs available to nationals on Royal Caribbean cruise ships. This was about a month ago this was announced. Close to 2,000 TNT citizens will soon have a chance at employment with Royal Caribbean International, as the Ministry of Tourism will sign a historic memorandum of understanding with Royal Caribbean International. So that's how it came about. The Ministry of Tourism, in conjunction with Royal Caribbean International, they signed that memorandum of understanding. And what I would like you to do in the meantime is hit that like button, of course. Make sure that you hit that like button once you're taking in the video. Of course, if you like it, you should hit the like button. If you don't like it, well, you don't have to hit the like button, but drop a comment and tell me what you think. Tell me exactly why you don't like it, and share it to someone and tell them, hey, I don't like this stuff, so listen to it and tell me if you don't like it too. According to Tourism Minister Randall Mitchell, the Memorandum of Understanding will be signed during a ceremony at the Hilton Trinidad and Conference Center. Okay, so the Royal Caribbean International, these cruise ships, these cruise liners, they are offering jobs to Trinidad and Tobago internationals. But why is that so? And the reality is that isn't just out of the kindness of their heart. It's not that they're doing this just because, you know, they really want the diversity on board their ships. They're yearning for that diversity. Well, not exactly, because the cruise industry has been suffering, and they have been suffering. They're one of the hardest hit because of the pandemic, because a cruise ship is just something that could not have functioned during the pandemic period. So obviously the industry plummeted during that time. Now that they're trying to restart everything, it's not turning out to be that easy for the cruise industry. Cruise ships cancelling sailings due to massive shortage of crew members. Several cruise lines are experiencing problems hiring crew members, resulting in fewer onboard meal options or trip cancellations from some cruise passengers. And that's it right there. It's not just that they're out here for our benefit. The cruise industry was suffering recently because they don't have enough crew. With cruise lines making a recovery, staffing issues are growing. As the cruise industry recovers, cruise lines are facing issues with cruise ships, and recruiting. Is working on cruise ships a thing of the past? There's no denying that working on board a cruise ship has been a dream for thousands, maybe even millions of people worldwide. The promise of making lots of money, seeing the world, and not having to pay for food or rent made cruise ships one of the most popular job options for those looking to expand their horizon. And I think many people in Trinidad and Tobago currently fall in that exact group, looking to expand their horizons. However, once the pandemic broke out, one thing became painfully apparent: there is no job security when it comes to working on cruise ships. A recent survey of 1,011 cruise professionals by Faststream, a global employment agency for the maritime industry, showed that more than 50% of the crew members in the hotel department on board cruise ships lost their jobs during the pandemic. So, the pandemic highlighted the reality that the jobs on board of cruise ships aren't exactly the most secure. And when the pandemic hit and the cruise industry took that whole massive hit, you can't cruise while there's an infectious disease going on around. That's just not going to work out for us. So the cruise ships have to go and take a little pack up for the while. When that happened, those working in the industry who loved working there and they loved the opportunities that it afforded them recognize that these opportunities come with a cost also, and they don't have the same safety and stability as someone who may have taken a government job sitting in an office somewhere. As the bubble burst during the pandemic, the cruise industry went through one of the biggest crises in history. No one has escaped the financial hits from ocean-going cruise ships and expedition vessels to river cruise ships. A recent study between March and April 2022 found that 39% of seafarers working in the cruise industry became unemployed. 39% became unemployed in the 2 years of the pandemic, although deck and engine departments were less affected, with 31% and 24% respectively. 53% of seagoing crew members lost their jobs in the hotel department. So the hotel department is the spot that got hit the hardest. Of that 39%, only 60% returned to work for the same employers when the ship started sailing again. A staggering 40% did not return at all to sea or started working for a new employer. And that 40% that is currently missing there, that 40% that recognize, hey, the job security on board these cruise ships is not that good, I'd like some more job security. Well, that 40%, they need to be replaced. And I believe that is where Trinidad and Tobago comes in. And it's not just Trinidad and Tobago. I believe I was looking at several other articles and they were pointing out, I think it was Jamaica, they're offering up to 10,000 jobs or something like that in the cruise industry that they're offering over the course of time in Jamaica too. So the cruise industry is desperate. They need some workers, but they aren't the only desperate ones, because we seem to be desperate too. When the opportunity arose for workers, for Trinidadians to be able to work on board of these cruise ships, well, the opportunity was seized. Probably seized too much. Thousands wait at Napa for cruise ship jobs. On Tuesday morning, over 2,000 applicants stood outside the National Academy for the Performing Arts, Port of Spain, hoping to fill various positions offered by Royal Caribbean Group International. The crowd stood on the pavements and in the car park as the hot sun beat down on them. Others blocked the entrance, prompting police to move them. So, at Napa alone, that's in Port of Spain. At Napa alone, there were over 2,000 applicants, they said. Napa alone. And the sun was beating them down in Napa. The irony is, gloomy prospects for cruise ship applicants at Sapa. That's in South. Hundreds of people sat out in rainy weather for the Southern Academy for the Performing Arts in San Fernando on Wednesday for the same thing. Many left disappointed. People lined up along pavements outside Sapa waiting to enter. When the rain began, they ran for cover inside Sapa's compound. Those who could not find shelter outside the main building huddled under nearby tents, normally used to shelter people who come to Sapa for COVID-19 vaccines. So, in Port of Spain, is sun beating you? In San Fernando, it's the rain beating you. And either place, it seems like in either place, they may have already had enough applicants for the 2,000 they offered. 2,000 is a good bit, but at the same time, not that much. If over 2,000 were already there in Port of Spain, a lot of people who lined up there aren't going to get the opportunity. Many seem to be in their 20s, but there were also more mature people, and a wide cross-section of the population seemed to be interested. One applicant who said his name was Andre lamented, "I came here and see about 1,000 people. My hopes just dropped." And I think this is symptomatic of something inside of our society. I think this is a sign of something in our society that isn't necessarily a positive. It shows, one, the unemployment. I think that's the obvious bit, that many people are unemployed in our society. They want a job. But if I were to hazard a guess, and you were to go inside of the crowd inside of Napa or Sapa and ask how many of them have a job currently, I would guess, I don't know this to be a fact, maybe, who knows, maybe at the next opportune moment I should go and ask some people this question. But I would guess that probably the majority of them might be employed, especially the kind of people that may turn out so early to some of these kind of offers. I may guess that a lot of them may be employed. So their problems may not directly be unemployment, but more indirectly underemployment, where because of GATE and our education system inside of Trinidad and Tobago, where for quite some time tertiary education, and it is still to some extent, a large extent, free, or at least with a reduced price, a lot of young people, a lot of millennials, a lot of people in their 20s have furthered their education past secondary school, past CXC, past O levels, and because of that, they may be looking for jobs that just aren't available in Trinidad and Tobago. And especially with the reduction in the size of the world, the globalization of the world has reduced the size of the world, especially when you're looking at the internet and social media, etc., etc. That has reduced the size of the world. A lot of people are sitting on their phones and their devices and looking all around the world and seeing a lot of people living many different lives compared to them. I think the wanderlust may be much higher in our younger generations than in some of the ones gone before. So you provide an opportunity right after a pandemic where people were locked down and where there were reduced jobs, especially in the entertainment and hospitality sector. During the pandemic, entertainment and hospitality sectors took a heavy hit. Now, that is kind of exactly the sector that would be in main focus for the cruise ships. We also found out that the biggest layoffs inside of the cruise industry weren't in the engine staff, but were exactly in that kind of hotel hospitality sector. So these people came out of 2 years in the pandemic not getting much jobs in Trinidad and Tobago. They're already in a generation that is predisposed to having that more adventurous spirit, and employment seems a little more difficult here. Is it any surprise that the offer was oversubscribed to? Now, I am curious about this because I believe this was an online process. First, if you know there are only 2,000 spaces, you have online applications, how is there still this problem? I believe I was reading in one of the articles, there were complaints that some people who registered online and signed up online first said that they were being bypassed by walk-ins. Like some are boasting and showing that, saying that this was a successful thing, and I find that some of the disappointment, some of the obvious mismanagement of how this was handled shows some signs of the general Trinidad attitude when it comes to getting things to the better organized end of things. Like, even when we look at our COVID-19 vaccine rollout, you see some of that same lack of organizational skills. Like, come on, if something is online, you could get the names before, and you could even have appointments made out for them. And this kind of thing where you have thousands of people coming to turn up in the sun in the north and in the rain in the south, and many of them turning up and some of them being turned back, and many of them not being able to get through it what they came there for. If there was an online process before, couldn't some of that have been filtered out before? I don't know. I find that some lack of organizational skills. But either way, they are opening it up again. There would be another opportunity. They are announcing that the Royal Caribbean adds another day for cruise ship recruitment. An overwhelming response by TNT nationals to calls for jobs with Royal Caribbean has led the cruise line company to add another day of registration at the National Academy for Performing Arts in Port of Spain. The company said it will return to Napa on Friday to accommodate those who did not get through yesterday. Thousands of people lined up from early yesterday to late into the evening, and we know that already. Now, I'm curious though, didn't they announce it's 2,000 jobs? Like, if thousands turned up in the previous day, and you're having another day, and it's only 2,000 jobs available. I mean, if you say thousands, the minimum it could be, if you're saying thousands, is 2,000. I mean, thousands is plural. The minimum in plural in thousands is 2,000. So, at least 2,000 persons showed up already. Now, another probably thousands more would show up on Friday. Listen, I think Royal Caribbean International is going to get the best out of this because they are going to get the choice picks. If you have this massive group, they now have the best to select from. Good luck to all the applicants because I think the process may be, in the long run, the process might actually turn out to be more difficult than it seems. Some people who may have assumed, okay, all I have to do is sign up and go down to Napa and I would get this job, might now find out that there's heavy competition for it. And competition means that many people are unfortunately going to be disappointed. Tell me what you think. Do you think this is a bad sign about the employment situation in Trinidad and Tobago? Or is this really just something that is symptomatic of the employment situation across the world, really and truly? And is it that the cruise ship industry is taking advantage of a misfortune here? Or is it really more of an opportunity for the Trinidad and Tobago nationals? Bear in mind, many of the people that left the cruise ship industry left complaining about the job security. So some of those lining up right now, well, not right now, but that were lining up previously and are going to line up later on, they're lining up for jobs that don't really have that much security. But does it really matter in the current system that we are in? Once you are employed, you are employed. You don't care how long for, you just need that employment for the moment. Drop a comment, tell me what you think. Don't forget to hit that like button. That's all I have for now. I hope you were educated, informed, or entertained, and I will see you again most likely tonight for the Mindful Live session. Last night we did not have one, unfortunately, but tonight we should be back there, and for the next video tomorrow. See you later.